Hey guys, Chris from Prep Logic, and I want to do a response video to my friend Chris Davis's live feed last night on Facebook regarding the Second Amendment. He made a lot of really important and critical points about the Second Amendment and whether or not people really truly support the Second Amendment. The first thing I want to say is he very accurately pointed out the difference between supporting laws and supporting the Second Amendment. And I wholeheartedly agree with him on that point. What I will say, though, is I think that people don't truly look at the whole picture when it comes to infringement of that very important right of ours. The first and most crucial infringement on the Second Amendment came in the form of federalization of our individual states. The Founding Fathers intended our states to be autonomous bodies where people of like minds could gather and live peacefully with people who shared their ideas and values. Now, the first and largest assault on that Second Amendment right was the National Guard. And I know everybody's going to say, but the National Guard is just every state's militia. Except that the National Guard is part of the federal army. Well, if our state militias were supposed to be there to protect us from a tyrannous and overreaching government, how can they do that being part of the indoctrinated army? Doesn't make sense. So that was the first major assault on the Second Amendment, was getting rid of our militias. Because in the National Guard, you're trained just like the Army. You're taught just like the Army. Whereas in the militia, you are among your like-minded friends who know the concerns and needs of your communities and focus on those issues. They train around those issues. They do things around those issues. Unlike the National Guard, that while they're trained to help in emergencies, and they do a great job. The people that serve in our National Guard, they sacrifice a lot, and we should appreciate them. But our militias were about our communities, pure and simple. And the Federals, when they saw that, well, they couldn't have that. They couldn't have the possibility that people might recognize tyranny and react to it. The best example of this is if we, the private citizens, become angry at an issue and we decide to band together and demonstrate, whether it's peaceful or not, because I believe there's some issues you shouldn't be peaceful about. Pure and simple. Whether it's peaceful or not, who are the first people that come in to stop us from a federal perspective? The National Guard. And they don't call it demonstrating, they call it rioting. See how that works? So that, I feel, is the first major infringement on our Second Amendment and largely our state rights individually. Because, let's face it, whoever is sitting in the control chair for the occupying empire can dispatch that National Guard any way they please. Whether it's to quell our righteous voices or to offer assistance when it's needed. Sorry about that, guys. Continuing on, we had to relocate to the home studio because my neighbor found a bald-faced hornet's nest with his tractor while he was cutting a tree down. They got kind of unfriendly outside. So, moving on. Permits. Now, I am a states' rights person. I believe every state's rights are individual and sovereign. And that's how the framers meant it to be. Now, in my perfect world, my permit is the Second Amendment, or 13th Amendment if you're so enlightened. I don't need permission from big government or small government or any government because my founding fathers gave me permission already, right? Enough said. Now, that being said, I believe every state has the individual and sovereign right to live the way they want to. And if those states determine that they want a system in place to determine who's desirable to carry a gun in their state, then they have that right as citizens. If I don't like it, I don't have to go to that state. Pure and simple. I don't like California, so I don't go to California. I stay in Alabama because Alabama's awesome. So I think permits and background checks and things like that should be at the discretion of the individual states. Because again, if we were living the way our founding fathers envisioned, every state would be a sovereign body where people could live the way they want to. If they don't like how things are in Alabama, they can go to California. Or they don't like California, they can go to Washington. There's a place for everybody in America, was the idea. But the problem is, federalization screwed it up. As soon as we started creating jobs in the federal government and people figured out they could make money, well, shit went downhill. There's a permit for everything. A permit to drive, a permit to farm. You want water? Got to get a permit for that. And you got to pay someone to get it for you because you can't get it yourself. You want power? You know, you got to do it their way, or they're gonna penalize you. You know. So I think the states need to largely reassert themselves and say, "Hey, no." Missouri did a really good job of that recently. I like what Missouri did. I think every state needs to do that and realize their sovereignty again. Now, on the issue of felons and firearms, I don't feel a violent crime is as easily defined as people say. Yes, some things are, murder, violent crime, rape, violent crime. I think it should be a case-by-case basis for a lot of things, though. Some thieves, shoplifters, embezzlers, and stuff like that, don't, most of the time, hurt somebody. But if they do, then those individual states have the right to apply control mechanisms to keep violent people from being able to do violent things. Now, that being said, you're right. I agree 100% with you about prison reform. Our prison system is broken badly. When you go into prison just to become a better criminal, that's not rehabilitation. That's not fixing the problem. We need skill training, education, hard work. We need to rewire the way these individuals think so that they understand basic values and want to come back out into society and be somebody functional and useful. I'm sorry, I believe thoroughly that crime is an issue of poverty, and poverty is an issue of ignorance. Pure and simple. And educating yourself doesn't mean going to college. Yeah, some college degrees are okay and they'll do something for you. But there are trade schools and things like that that are just as good. Keep that in mind. Back on topic though. I think if a person goes to prison, whether charged with a felony or not, and they serve their time and come out rehabilitated, I don't see a reason they shouldn't have their rights restored. Now, there are people that should never, ever, ever leave prison once they're in. Gang members, pedophiles, people like that. And I'm not for keeping pedophiles in prison. I'm not for it. But as a former peace officer, here's the thing. I'm going to say this right now. Yeah, I'm with you. Put a bullet in their fucking head. But as soon as there's a death penalty for pedophilia or for child rape or anything like that, I'll tell you as a retired peace officer, that'd be the last time you find a living victim. So unfortunately, we have to deal with it the way it's dealt with. Anyway, back on topic. Fixing our prison system has to be a priority. And once these people are out and they've served their time in good standing, they should get their rights back. Pure and simple. Enough said. So largely, I think, Chris, our biggest issues stem from our inability to acknowledge that we are all sovereign states and should have the right to apply that guiding document the way we as individual citizens of individual states want to apply it. Now, folks, I'm going to put a link to Chris's video in the description. If you want to know more about homesteading, Chris and his wife Tracy have a great site on Facebook, the Davis Homestead. Check them out. They give lots of great advice on good relationship advice, being a good husband, being a good father, homesteading, just general life advice. Check them out. Great channel. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment. We're happy to help you research anything or respond. If you like this content, like and share it. Remember to give a shout out to my friend Chris and his channel. Again, I'll ask that you're decent to each other because we're all in this together. God bless.